All right, everyone, welcome back to the Comets Showcase. Welcome, everybody. I just want to say I'm super excited to have our guest, one of our teachers at Sacred Heart. She's a very accomplished in her field and career, and really excited to have Miss Paola Acevedo, who is from Puerto Rico and studied general communication and advertising at Sagrado Corazon University. Hopefully I said that pretty good, and it translates to Sacred Heart. So hey, and she's been training for dance for 10 years. She's trained at studios like the Millennium Dance Complex, where she also teaches the junior program. She's trained with Debbie Reynolds, the Movement Lifestyle, and other choreographers from around the world and major artists. She's danced for Wango Tango with Luis Fonsi for that song, you know, Despacito. And she danced for the music video for J Balvin and Rake, Indeciso. She's been in LA for 6 years. An amazing story of how she, for 6 years, has been doing all of this. And she is at Sacred Heart for her second year, going on a third. So please welcome and thank you, Paola, for being here with us, Miss Acevedo. Thank you so much. So glad you're here.
I'm excited. This is awesome.
Yeah. So it's really cool because how you play in the athletic program is that like for our halftime shows or in between the volleyball games or whatever, like you'll get the girls in your class and perform for us, and it's really cool. Hopefully when the pandemic goes away, we'll be able to have games, and we'll be able to get the girls out there and really perform and showcase the talents. But I want to really talk about your story. So tell me, like, how you started dancing. What was that like? How did you get into it? How did you find the love?
So I first started dancing. I've been dancing since I was little. Like my family's from Puerto Rico. I was raised and born there as well. And my dad's side, it's all about dance and music. And we dance since you're like a baby. And I loved it like since I was little. And then I went to a school, which is also a Catholic school, that they had a dance class. It was an athletic class, more like aerobics, more for like exercise. But the teacher mixed dance in it, and I loved it. And when I was 16, I had a substitute teacher. Well, she was a professional dancer, and she introduced me to the studio, which is the studio I trained. Did a summer camp, and then won a scholarship for that studio and started training there full time, like after school until like 11 or 10 p.m. every single day. So I did my schoolwork in between classes in order to get it done. So I started there, and then later on, thanks to that, I was in a dance company with them, and I got to travel to train in New York and in Vegas. And then later on, decided, oh, let me try Los Angeles to see if I like it, just because I saw it online. And at first, I was like, oh, I'll go this summer, and then I'll be back, and then keep doing what I was doing. I was teaching already, like 6 classes a week. I was at the studio every single day, even Sundays. So wow. It was like a change, and then I loved it. And I told my mom, like, Mom, I'm moving to LA. Book a flight while I was still here that summer, and didn't tell my mom until later on that I booked my flight. So that's when like it all started. So it was like, kind of like a journey, but it's been already 6 years.
That's crazy. Okay, so that was like a fast forward, so to say, of like when you started to like being in LA. Now, you said that you were training and you were going to school, and you'd be like up until like 10, 11 o'clock at night.
So I used to, when I was in high school, my school was done like kind of like a Sacred Heart that they're done like at 2:33. And then my first class was at 3:30. It was a ballet class. And I was never a big fan of it, about ballet. Like I loved it, like seeing it, but my body was not the type of body for it. It was at 3, so I used to like change in the car. Like I used to like ask my teacher, which was a history class, I will never forget. That was my last class. I made a deal with her. I was like, we had periods of 2 hours classes or an hour and 45 minutes. I was like, I'll do all your work in the first hour, but in the next one, can I go change? So like, I'm ready to like my classes. If I'm late, I'm gonna get in trouble. So I used to do that. And then as soon as I got in college, I used to go to school at 7 a.m., like 7:30. That was my first class until 10. And then I would drive to the studio until 1. And then I was done at 1, go back to college, take 2 more classes, more courses, and then go back to the studio and be there until like 11. Because I had training for the company, then I had my own classes. I was teaching like 5 classes, but I had them all in a row. So it was hard at first because I had to adjust so many things. And then my friends, I couldn't see them like normal, like a normal college student. I couldn't like, oh, let me go here with everybody. I couldn't do that because I had commitments already. So it's just an adjustment. And also with my family, like there was a lot of things that I couldn't spend too much time with them because I was working. But then when I decided to focus on moving to LA, then I was just working. And then I had a job at a school, same thing I'm doing now for Sacred Heart. I was doing it at a military school. So I used to train, go to the school, teach, and then go back to the studio. So that was like a transition. Wow. It was fun and I loved it. I will never like regret doing it, but it was hard on my body. It was hard. And then I was always tired, like after I couldn't do anything else.
Yeah.
And then when I was working at the school, I talked to my parents. I was like, hey, like I want to save all this money in order for me to go. And that's what I did. I saved all my money. I didn't spend anything. Like I went home, eat, and then come back to the school. And moving here, then I was training every single day as well, while working as well.
Wow. Okay, this is fascinating because we have high schoolers that want to whether it's dance or play a sport and really get good. When a lot of times we'll have some of our students who are like, yeah, I want to play college ball, or I want to like do this, at the next level. And, sometimes there are these dreams and it's yet like, okay, how do we get there? And what I'm here, I mean, you wanted to be a dancer when you were younger, and like you've trained and now you are like doing a lot of amazing things in your career as a dancer. And when we take a look at like your high school, like you're going to school, you're doing your work, and then you're staying at the studio till 11 o'clock. How, like in your high school years, how many hours would you say a week you dedicated to dance?
So I was in school until 3, and then I was in dance from 3:30 till like 10. Because the last class was until 9:30, but I was a scholarship student. So being a scholarship student, you have to clean the studio at the end. So that was like also a commitment. Like I couldn't just like leave at 9:30 like everybody else. Oh, my mom is here and I go home. No, I had to stay longer, clean the studio. And if we didn't do a good job, we could like get classes taken out of like our program. And it wasn't an option. So that was also like hard because like my parents, they didn't have money to pay all those classes. Like it was just hard. So what I used to do, my parents would give me like money for school to like eat. We had a cafeteria that I was paid already through school, but they also give us money like, oh, hey, if you want to get something extra. I used to save that money every single day to pay one extra class. And then I had my other classes that were free, but it wasn't that it was free. I had to train there and do extra like curricular stuff for the studio. So that I think when you're committed and you know what you want to do, it's just splitting your time and being like responsible about that. Like, this is what I have to do. I don't have an option. And if you get distracted, then you don't get it done. Yeah. So like I have students that they do theater like out of school, like extra, or like they do sports, and it's just like having like a commitment. Like if I know I had homework, I used to do my homework in lunchtime. I'm like, let me just do it before, then I don't have to worry about it. Or if I had like, I finished something early in any of my other classes, I was doing another homework for another class, just so when I get home, I don't have to do anything. And I used to study between classes because I didn't want it to like worry that, oh, like I don't know the material, or like one time I did forget, like I had a test and I just started crying because I was like, oh my God, I didn't focus on this, I'm not in that. But my students also like in well, my teacher, sorry, in the dance studio, they knew obviously that we were all in school. So they gave us like periods, like, oh, this is your period for school time. So it's also like it's us being responsible and committed and splitting your time. And yeah, we want to party and yeah, we want to have fun with our friends, but there's a point that you're like, okay, I cannot go there. And your friends will get mad at you. They don't understand because they're not focusing their time in what you're doing. So it's different. So it's also like working on that and like understanding that if you want to do something, you got to put all your energy on it, not just a little bit. Because a little bit later, you're going to get distracted with something else.
Wow, that's incredible. Like I'm kind of seeing like what it took for you to get to the level you're at right now, which was, I mean, it sounds like you spend like 6 hours a day. How many days a week? Like we're talking about five,
like
6 days a week?
From Monday to Saturday, and then Sundays we had sometimes rehearsals. And our rehearsals weren't like, oh, an hour. We were there like since like 8 a.m. until like 5.
So you're spending like 40 plus hours, or like 30, 40 hours.
Yeah, like 30, 40 hours a week.
Wow.
And if you were teaching, then you have recitals. So you have to choreograph for your kids and then stay with them after. So I was a dancer plus a teacher. So I was there all day. And my students used to like go there early to see me take my class and then take my class later on.
Yeah, yeah.
But that was fun. I always liked that.
That's incredible. Just the time it took for you to develop your craft as a dancer and to really get into that. And then, like when you were saying earlier, like how you had to really manage your time to like fit in. I heard like lunch times, like after class, like just cramming in whenever you could study so that later you didn't have to worry about that.
Yeah, I've been always like that. Like I think that's from like my parents. We always when we were like kids, like growing up, I have a sister, we had a schedule. Like this is what we're doing during the week, and then this is your free time and you do whatever you want. But then when I was getting older, I didn't have a car in high school. So my dance teacher from school used to drive me to dance class. So it's like me, like saying, for example, like I'm a teacher and one of my students it's committing to dance, and I talk to their parents, hey, like I'll take her to dance class, something like that. And right now she's one of my best friends, like, and it's great to like see, she stopped like working there because now she's doing something else, but I'm still connected to her. I still talk to her like almost not every day, but like weekly we like talk to each other. And like my friends for dance, we're more connected than my friends from high school. That's one like important thing. Like you became like a family because you're together every single day.
Right. Wow, what an experience. So I'm gonna fast forward when you bought your it was a one-way ticket to LA, or did you have a flight home?
So the first time I was gonna come for 2 months. It was a June and July intensive. It was called, I don't know if they're doing it now because of COVID, but it's called a certificate program. And you pay an amount of money and then you take every single class at the studio, and then you get private lessons with I think like two teachers. So depending on how many months, you get a private. So I did June and July, and then I liked it so much, and I talked to my mom, said, can I stay August as well? Because my school and college didn't start until kind of September. So I stayed a little bit longer. But that last month, I got an offer from the manager at the studio that if I wanted to do a work study program, that means like you work at the studio and the front desk, kind of the same thing that I was doing in Puerto Rico. I got a scholarship, same thing, because I was working there once a week at the studio and I could take any classes I wanted. I'm like, this is perfect. I don't have to be here every single day and working. I can work one day, a shift. It was 9 to 4, and then I was going to then I was done. So I talked to my mom. I was like, can I please do it? But I already booked my ticket for January, and I didn't tell her anything. So that was fun, and thanks to that, I got to like come to LA again in August. But that transition was really hard because I had to like not be in the company at the other dance studio in order to work more to save more money. So that was hard for me because my like the dance company I was in, that was like my family. I was like, I can't be here every single day and do what I was doing because I'm leaving. And I talked to them because they're also our bosses or like our mentors. They train us for that. Like you're not trained to stay at a studio. You're trained to go and do something else. So they understood that. So that was really good. So I went back to Puerto Rico, worked 6 months, and told my boss from the high school I was working, I'm like, hey, so I'm gonna be done before my year, but I have you a teacher. So that's also like a thing, like being responsible. Because sometimes, yeah, we have dreams, but we also have commitments. I couldn't just leave the school like, oh, I'm leaving. So I talked to one of my friends that she was also a dance teacher, but she was going to school for education. So we transitioned. So I'm leaving, you can stay. So that was fun. It was hard, like it was so hard, and I had a really hard time when I first came here because I didn't know no one. I didn't know anything. I didn't know anyone. I didn't know where like Walgreens was or like the grocery store, nothing. And I didn't have a car either. So I had to find a place to stay that was close to everything.
Wow.
So that was hard.
So then you pretty much just like packed up and said, I'm going to try dancing in
I had
LA.
2 suitcases. I had 2 suitcases, one big one and one not that big, and that was it. That's all I had. And the funniest thing, when I like came back in January, I had already connected to choreographers here, and it was like, oh, when is that you're coming? Like, come to my class right away. So I dropped my suitcases at the dorms that I was staying, and I went straight to the studio.
Wow.
From the plane, dropped my stuff and went straight there. So that was fun. That was like a transition. I was like, oh, this is cool. Like I got to like connect with a lot of choreographers that not even like, not that it's impossible, but these people work for like amazing artists as well.
Yeah.
So that's an opportunity as well.
So you've been able to train for choreographers that have done things for like a lot of big artists.
Yeah,
like
so
Michael Jackson, was it? Justin Timberlake, J-Lo, Janet Jackson.
So Michael Jackson and Janet Jackson's choreographers, they're rich in talent, they're brothers. And they do an intensive yearly. I think they do it twice a year. But in order to get and be accepted, you have to do a submission and like send like a video and like send your resume. And if you have not trained properly, you will not be able to do it. Not because they don't want you in it, but they need people that know what they're doing. And then for Justin Timberlake's choreographer, I was training with him since I moved to LA. So I had already been training with him for like 3 years. And then he did his intensive, his is called school. Like you get tested at the program. So you get written tests like about like history. And then the people that train you, they're dancers for Justin as well. And they do the movie Trolls, the little kids movie.
Yeah.
Forgot that movie as well. And there's like different programs that I've done like separately. One of my favorite like choreographers, and I'm really good friends with him. He's J-Lo's choreographer, and he used to dance for J-Lo back in the day, and he trained her in salsa. He's Mexican, and he's like one of the coolest person in the industry of dance, and he's given so many opportunities to like so many people. Yeah. And then from Puerto Rico, who I did Luis Fonsi's Despacito show. He's done like every single Latin artist in Miami, Puerto Rico, all over the world. This guy has been everywhere. And that was really fun because I just got a phone call on a Wednesday. Hey, are you able to do this show on Saturday? I'm like, sure. And you have to say yes. That's the thing too. You can like say like, oh, let me think about it because I have this. No, you always have to be available. Even if you have to cancel things, you have to make it happen. So that was hard because I had to learn it from a video. So that's why I do it to my students. I do a test in my class, which they have to learn a dance from a video that I do for them. So that's a challenge as well because I did it. They challenged me to do it. And it's impressive that my students, that some of them, they don't know how to dance when they get to my class. They're like, oh, I'm here because they put it on my schedule. I'm like, no, you're here because you're going to learn something. So that's fun too, to see like from August to like this, like the end of the semester, like September to like May or June, you're like, wow, they really learn how to dance or how to like follow something.
Yeah, that's crazy. And then to hear like how you got called and you're like given a video and then you have to perform it. So like just give me like a small like when did you get the video? When did you have to perform? How did
So
you practice?
I got the video on a Wednesday. On like I got a call. Like I was driving from my best friend's house in Burbank, and I was on my way to Naho, and I got a call from that choreographer. His name is Danny Lugo. Hi, it's Danny Lugo. We want to know if you're available to do this job. And at first, I couldn't talk. I was like, oh, I was like, oh my God. I was like, yeah. I was like, yeah, sure. When is it? And he's like, oh, it's on Saturday, but we're not in LA until Saturday, the day of the show. So you have to learn it on your own. And you have a partner. That was the thing too. I had a partner because of the music video, they have a partner. And I was like, sure, just send it to me. Just send it and I'll start learning it. So he sent it right away. They send me 3 videos, like split it. So normally they send you one with music, one with counts, and one with the partner. And I asked him like, who's my partner? Because maybe I knew who he was. And thank God. And I think that was a sign. I knew who my partner was. So I like hit him up quick on Instagram because I didn't have his phone number. I'm like, hey, would you mind if I rent a studio and you come and like practice with me? So we practiced right away. And then on Saturday, we met them and we did the show.
Wow.
Like we met the artist. We got to, it was at the Staples Center, but it was outside. It was something that it was outside. And I've never danced that either. Never. There was so many people there. It was like, they looked like ants. Like so many people.
Yeah.
And he was the first Latin artist that was performing in that show, the first one in like history. So that was really cool. And I got to see like Katy Perry like walking like in the back, like, and there's so many artists that you're like, wow, this is awesome. Like this is really cool.
What an experience. And then to be able to learn a dance in like what 2-3 days before you have to perform it in front of like
it was
thousands of people.
The song was like 3 minutes or 3 minutes and a half, and I already knew how to learn from the video because the dance company that I was in, we had a choreographer from Spain, which in Spain he's really like recognized that he even has awards as an artist, and we learned Carmen. I don't know if there's a book for that story. Normally in dance or ballets and contemporary, they have stories from books and then they play them. So we had one, it was called Carmen, and we learned an hour and 20-minute show from the video. And then he was coming from Spain to like clean it. Cleaning the dance means like he does changes and arrange everything. So we learned everything by ourselves. So that was like, okay, I knew how to do it because I already spent 3 months one time trying to learn something from the video. So it was cool. And now since that happened, like I like talked to him more and like I've done just for him as well. So that was cool.
Wow. That's so wild. That is so wild. So you come to LA and you're like, I'm gonna try this thing out, and you start working with all these choreographers that you have previously kind of connected with and got to know from your previous visit to LA, and then like it takes off. So I'm wondering like what were like the biggest lessons that you learned, or some of the challenges? Let me go with the challenges first. Like what were the challenges and obstacles that you had to kind of overcome?
I think like the main challenge is, first of all, being a Latina that doesn't look like Latina. Like that was a big challenge because as soon as I moved here, my mom told me like you have to find a job, find an apartment, find an agency. So I'd find a job and find an apartment, and then finding an agency, I just went to an open call audition. An open call audition means an agency posts a day, we're gonna have an open audition, everybody can come and they're gonna pick someone. They don't tell you how you're supposed to look, anything. So I got it right away. Like that was my second agency audition and I got the agency, but because I didn't look Latina, like they put me on a like ambiguous way to audition. So normally an agency has categories. Latinas, and I'm talking about girls because for guys it's completely different. Asian, Latinas, Caucasian, which Caucasian is if you look like European, and then African American, all by the way you look. So the way you look might not be the way you feel, which for me was hard because I come from like salsa, like all like Latin like music, all like Latin flavors, and I wasn't doing that. I was not auditioning for that. So that was a challenge because I being sent with girls that I don't know their dance at all. So that was a challenge. Also, I'm always the shortest one, always. Like, yeah, there's like in the industry, like you know the people that you will audition. Later on, I learned that too. I'm gonna always audition with the same girls. So I should be going to the same classes they're going to see what they're doing and how they're dancing. Because me being the shortest one, I have to dance bigger than everybody else. And I have to like let's say like my hair, I couldn't have it down because that makes me look shorter. So I have to always have ponytail. So I look a little bit taller, or I need to like use heels in audition. So that was a challenge too. And just like anything, even like sports, there's competition. There's always competition. In class, there's competitions and auditions, everything. Even in a job, you book the job, you're still competing because they can take you out. If you mess up one step, they could be like, "Oh, thank you for coming. Don't worry about it." And I think the biggest challenge is like being confident enough that you know your craft. Let's say you're an you do basketball, that you know your game, like you know how to play with your friends, and then you also know how to compete by yourself. And that was hard. And also being confident enough, like, okay, like I'm different from everybody else in one way because I'm the shortest one, but that's not something that's going to stop me from doing the job. And it is challenging because all jobs have height. Like you get the email and it says 5'5". I'm like, oh, can't do it. 5'9". Oh, can't do it. And then there's one like once or twice that's 5 or 5'1". I'm like, okay, I can go to that one. But sometimes like that didn't even stop me because I went to different ones that said a little bit taller. And my mentor, which she's my best friend now, she's the answer for everybody. She's like, just go. Don't worry about the height that says on the email. Just go. And I booked some of them because if you're a good dancer, your height should not matter. It does matter if you're dancing for an artist, but if you're dancing for an event, it doesn't matter. So I think that and feeling like confident and also like staying true to yourself, not change because of everybody else. Because the industry that I work, they don't morally they're not the best. And you will get that challenge that you have to like decide, is this okay with me, or I'm pleasing someone else to do this job? Because sometimes they'll tell you have to wear this, you have to do this, you have to change your hair, you have to change your body shape, you have to do surgery. There's so many things that like you have to like, okay, I'm not doing that, and it's okay. At first for me that was hard. Like I want to say yes to everything, but you can't do that because later on, if you feel uncomfortable, that's you, that it's going to affect you later on. And it does affect your confidence. And there was a point in my career that I was like, I don't want to do it anymore. And it was because I was in a circle of negativity, in a circle of like girls that like just like to each other and are mean to each other. And I'm not like that. And I'm so honest too, coming from like a Latin culture, you just say things right away. I'm not the type of person like that will like stay quiet. I will say what I think, and I will make sure that I'm getting paid also too, because they just think because you're a dancer, you don't know what you're doing. And they want to take advantage of you. I'm like, no, you said this amount of money this time, so just pay it because I have bills to pay just like you too.
Yeah.
And that's a challenge too, just being confident enough that you know what you are and you know what you've learned around this time because you learn so much. And it's like, no, like I know what I'm worth and I'm okay to say no to things.
Yeah.
And as a woman too, because guys will say like, yeah, sure, like I'll dance whatever. But for us, it's a little bit different.
Wow. That's really interesting when you talk about the industry and how, because a little bit ago you were like, hey, you know what, when they call, like, you got to pick up, you got to say yes, yes, yes. And then there's those moments where it's like, okay, is this crossing the line, you know, of my integrity or who I want to be, and say no to those things. And I think, you know, sometimes just in general, it's like, it's hard to say no, especially if like a boss or someone is telling you to do things, or, you know, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh, we have a choice to say no. And I'm really hearing how you or like, I'm putting my foot down, like, I'm not okay with this. Like,
Yes.
how was that transition of like, you know, kind of being like, all right, I got to do everything I can to like, oh my goodness, like, I'm saying no to this. Like, how did that happen for you?
So for me, at first, because I'm really open to different styles, I was being called to do everything. Aerial, because I did silks, which is like Cirque du Soleil stuff. I had like those opportunities, and I had like salsa, and then I had hip hop. Um, if once you know a lot of dance styles, you get like calls and emails for like your agency for different styles. So one thing that I always said, I don't want to do a vulgar song or work for an artist that doesn't reflect who I am. I don't care how famous you are. I don't care how much followers you have. I don't want to do that. Why? Because later on, when that's on my resume, that's gonna be like, oh, she did that, then she can do this other thing. And yeah, I got calls like for different artists, and I was like, oh no. And I saw their work, and I'm like, I don't see myself doing that, and I won't feel proud of that I did that. Or
Wow.
even like, I'm gonna show my mom this. I'm like, no. And I'm the type of person, like, I show my parents everything, every single job they have it. When I did Wango Tango, they like, I don't know how they found it online and they watched the show. So I want to make sure that later on, as I get older, like, I feel proud of what I'm doing. I don't want to feel embarrassed. I don't want to feel like ashamed, like, in a way. And also, I dance in heels sometimes, and some people think like, oh, that's not like appropriate, or that looks weird. No, it's the way you do it as well. What type of songs you're using, what type of music movement you're doing as well. Because it's there's everything. Sometimes your pictures, you have to take headshots, which is the thing for dance and acting. Yeah, you take headshots and then you take body shots. So there's also a line, like, how you gonna look in those pictures for some auditions. In some girls, they're like, and they have nothing almost. Like, that's not me. I'm not like that. And me saying no caused me a lot of like losses, if we can say like that, but it's their loss, not mine. And because I didn't lose anything, like, just a job. A job is a job, and it's how you take it. Like, right now, it was yesterday, which I should have not done it. I did my vaccine and I went to the studio because I'm in a it's called hustle dancing. It's like salsa. And we were rehearsing, and they were like, oh, if we have a competition in July, we want you guys to be part of that. And I was like, yes, I want to do that, because that's something I've never done. Yeah, if I dance basically my whole life, but I've never done a competition, which is crazy. A lot of people, like, now for kids, like, they put them since they're 3 to compete. I'm like, do they want to do that?
Yeah.
Because they might not. They might not want to be dancers. They might not want to be athletes. That's the thing too. Some students, like, they're being pressured to do the things, and they want to try something else, and maybe they don't feel supported. And that, I think that's my role also in school. For me, that's important, because I want to inspire my students to, like, I want to try acting. I want to try dancing. Go try it.
Yeah.
I did it, and that's the thing. Like, I did it. I know how hard it is, but it's not impossible. I have a student. She does. I don't have her this year, but I had her last semester, and she used to do musical theater, and she used to study during my class. And I'm like, that's great. Like, that's a great opportunity. That later on, if you want to go to school for that or do an extra, that's fun. It's something that you want to do, not to please anybody.
Right. That's, wow. The things that you've been able to, like, learn and now, like, apply is just, I mean, I think it's a great message. for a lot of, people out there of how to like stay in integrity and like, you can say no and everything. So, and I imagine like your students are also getting that. So, I'm interested, like, you're a dance teacher at Sacred Heart High School. Like, what brought you here? Why did you become a dance teacher? And like, what do you hope for your students?
I always like to like teach. That was the thing that I always loved this, and I started like training. For me, a dance teacher is not just like, oh, they just like teach you some steps. Like a dance teacher is also someone that like can counselor you in a way. Like they're like a therapist in some kind of way, because dance, it's after school sometimes. So like they have all that drama from school, all those tests, and that stress from coming straight from the school. And a dance room, a dance class, it's a way to release stress. And I don't want to feel like nobody that is under my wing feels pressure in any kind of way. So that's what I like to teach. And also, a lot of students have different situations at home that you don't know anything about it. And in a dance studio, that comes out, and being able to like talk to them and encourage them and like help them like in some kind of way. That's what I like. But I started working at Sacred Heart. Thank you to Miss Gabby Ramos, that she used to be the dance teacher before I was a teacher there. She's one of my best friends here in LA, and we started working together in Millennium. We were both work studies, and we were the only one that speaks Spanish. So that's why I know who she was. I'm like, she's a Cuban girl, and I was a Puerto Rican girl. So like we like started talking, and we became like really good friends. And she was going to school, and she couldn't be in Sacred Heart anymore. And she asked me, "Will you be willing to do it or try it?" And I was like, "Yeah," like because she knew I'd like teach. I was teaching already, and I used to teach at a school as well. So that's how I started, and then I started just subbing, and then later on, I got the job opportunity to keep teaching there, and I love it. And it's a place that I feel safe, and I feel like I can teach my students. I know a lot of my students have never danced, so that's also a challenge, because when you go to a dance studio, the students know something, at least some kind of dance, something, even if it's ballet, the baby when they were 3. But my students, most of them, they're athletes. So I have to mold them like, okay, like you know how to follow instructions in basketball and track, then put it here. And then use your like, and it was funny always, I always said the same thing. When we call it plie, that means we bend our knees, and that helps to jump higher. And I'm like, well, if you're playing basketball and you do it plie like dance, you could be able to jump higher. And I'm like, look at Michael Jordan, sorry. They used to take dance, the NBA players and football players, they take dance in order to do different skills. They're like, that's not true. And I did a video one time in class. I'm like, look, it is true. It's part of the training, because it helps your body to like elevate and go higher. Yeah. So I think that's my role in school. It's just to be positive and just be open to like, my class is like a safe zone.
Yeah.
And they sometimes email me or send me messages, oh, Miss Paula, I feel like this, or I don't know if I can do this dance. I'm like, don't worry, it's not the end of the world. I'll help you out with it.
Yeah, that's so cool. Well, it's been great to have you on the Comets Showcase, and I have one last question for you, and that's this: like, what advice would you give to students who want to pursue the dream, and when sometimes it goes against the grain?
So I think it's for me, it's just believing in yourself and being confident. I know it's hard when we're growing up and we're in high school, because there's so many changes. But once you pick what you want to do, just do it. Find a way to do it. Talk to your teachers. Maybe someone will be able to like guide you to that. And once you find your dream, just make it happen, even if it's something like small. And just think it's like a vision board. I think we were talking about that before. Think about that, like what I want to see myself in the next 5 years. How am I going to get there? And I know it's hard, and there's so many challenges, and being a woman as well, that's challenging. A lot of insecurities, your body, you're like, maybe I don't feel like I feel I look like this, I look like that. No, like it doesn't. The physical thing is nothing for within like in here. If you love something, you just do it and don't be scared of like the journey because that's how you learn. And then later on, like me, 6 years, you're gonna be talking of like all the stuff you went through. Like I didn't have nothing at all when I first moved here. I have 2 suitcases and my phone. That was it. I didn't have anything else. And later on, I built up myself. I had an apartment. I got a car, and those were things that I wanted for myself. And just do it. Like even if you have to fly somewhere else, don't be scared. Like oh, like I don't have money to like go there. Work, find a part-time job. Right now, we're all on. Like everything is online. You can find internships to start working something extra. Just don't do that's one thing too. Don't do just one thing. Let's say I was doing dance. I didn't just do dance. I did dance and I went to school as well. Why? Because I could get hurt. That's like sports. People think they're invincible. You can get hurt and never be able to dance again or never be able to play again. So what's your plan B?
Yeah.
That's the good thing too, to have it.
Wow. Well, there you have it, everyone. Miss Acevedo here, sharing the wisdom, sharing the experience, and we just really appreciate you being on the show. And so thank you very much.
You're welcome. I'm excited to see the other ones as well. That's going to be awesome.
For sure. Well, that's it for today, everyone. Stay tuned for next week. We got another awesome and amazing guest that we're going to be hosting. So until then, have a good one. Peace out.